And I thought we would do this session today in silence because there is so much shit happening everywhere in the world that I thought we would make this a very peaceful practice. And so maybe come and sit, and you want to kind of feel your sit bones. You don't have to sit with your legs crossed. You can sit whichever way you kind of feel able, or on the sofa or on a chair. And you can begin to kind of rock from side to side, maybe close your eyes or have them really soft. And so just kind of feeling into the left side of your body and the right. And maybe as you lean right, you feel more into your left. And as you lean to your left, you feel more into your right. Maybe really see if you can let your neck and head stretch, and maybe begin to make the rocks a little bit more slowly, and kind of let the space between the hip and the shoulders open, so kind of opening into the rib cage of the side that you're lengthening. And so kind of like a pendulum swinging from left to right, and kind of connecting to that quite innate dualistic nature of ours, where we really do swing from one to the other. And then when you feel ready, you want to kind of get a sense of sitting between the left and the right. And if you need to keep moving, and otherwise kind of feel into the space in between the left and the right, your container, and take a breath there. And so you have today availability to go from left to right, but also really to feel into that middle. And then you might like to slowly begin to roll onto your back and lie flat, keeping your eyes soft or closed. And then you also want to begin to feel into your left and your right, and just begin to make little movements or little wiggles. And just already see here if you notice a difference in the left and the right side. And take some deep breaths here to really arrive. And to connect with your middle, with your center, with your neutral. Where you haven't taken a side. Where you are not judging. But where you're allowing yourself to feel. Maybe see if you can allow your arms to slightly roll open and your legs also to slightly roll open. And then again, continue kind of wiggling your body and feeling into the heavier parts of your body that are connecting to the floor. And kind of using and pressing into those heavy parts to help you to wiggle. So maybe you're kind of using your forearms, or maybe your heels, or your hips, your pelvis. And so any kind of little movements that feel good to help mobilize. And some of you may want to move your feet closer in so that you've got more grip. And or keep everything long. And playing with the kind of moving from side to side. And then if you haven't already moved your feet in, walk them in so that they are kind of about a footprint away from your sit bones. Or a hand away from your sit bones, more or less. And then you want to begin to lift your pelvis up and off the floor. And then imagine your feet being your anchors and your shoulders and arms being your anchors, and everything else is allowed to kind of hang. But your pelvis is off the floor and you want to just maybe move into your pelvis and let it rock from side to side. And so little muscular effort, little strain, and just see if you can find tiny little movements. Maybe swinging from side to side like a pendulum. To begin with, and then maybe begin to add a kind of an almost figure of 8 in your little movements in your pelvis, as your pelvis is rocking, getting a little bit of infinity movement through that figure of 8. And maybe you want to go back to swinging from side to side, from left to right and right to left. And maybe coming back down, releasing your pelvis back down on the ground. And then let your heels step wide and your feet slightly turn in, or your toes slightly turn in. And place your hands on your chest and take a few breaths into your hands. Take a moment to feel with your hands into your chest and with your chest into your hands. And for some of you, there might be a lot of sensitivity here, or maybe none. And both are valuable. One more breath here. And then release your arms back down by your sides and begin to extend your legs once more. And then, but this time bring your feet together. So your inner ankles more or less are together. And you want to begin to point and flex your toes. So you're creating this little rocking like movement. I don't know if you can see it very well, but go with what you're hearing. So your heels are on the floor. You're kind of lifting or pointing and flexing your foot forwards and backwards quite fast. So kind of point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point, flex, point, flex. And then let that rock into your pelvis, but also into your shoulders, your arms, your neck, your head. And so you're kind of just letting your whole body be rocked forwards and backwards. Kind of like a yes. And if you get tired and you need to have a little break, do, and otherwise let's do a few more. And then really release it. And then take a breath and being really soft. See if you've got tension in your hands, see if you can soften. See if you can soften your belly. And then once again, begin to walk your feet in. Only this time, you're going to have your feet turning out, toes pointing out, and heels slightly in, and your feet coming to the edges of your mat. Then you want to begin to let your knees roll from one side to the other, and you can choose which side they want to go to first, and then next. And I think in the beginning, it's quite nice to roll quite slow, but keep it moving. And maybe don't get to the end point of anything yet. So you're just kind of creating a little bit of movement for your joints, but also your connective tissue, your fascia to get used to which direction you're going into, what's getting lengthened. But whilst it's getting lengthened, try and keep everything quite soft. So you're not actively pushing into anything. You're just trying to mobilize at this point. And maybe begin to have an awareness of your body being fluid, being liquid. Maybe it's not very liquidy yet, but maybe it will get there. But maybe using your imagination to feel water, liquid running through your body. And so sensing maybe where it feels a bit stuck. And then focusing on that area to kind of visualize or imagine this liquid to be slowly running through. And then you might like to keep your knees to your left. And at the same time, begin to turn your head slightly to your right. And so we have both here. We have the knees pointing to the left, to the feminine, and the head pointing to the right, to the masculine. And take a moment to let yourself really be both. And then slowly let your knees roll back up towards the sky, and then let them roll to your right, and let your head roll to your left. And then take a breath here. And so the knees now are pointing to your masculine side, to the right, and your head's pointing to the left, to your feminine. And take a moment to really feel and allow your body to be both. And then slowly let it return back to the center and hug your knees into your chest. And then you want to just rock maybe from side to side. Or maybe you prefer doing little circles over the base of your spine. And I would say at this point, just keep your hands on your knees, not laced, not wrapped, just kind of exploring the little rocking or the little circles. Exploring going from right to left and left to right. Exploring the affirmation, the yes, and the negation, the no within. Knowing when to say yes and when to say no. Something I'm working very hard on. Hope you are too. And then you want to keep your big toe joints together with your hands resting on your knees. You're going to draw little circles with your knees outwards and then inwards. So kind of big circles or little circles. Outwards and then back towards the center. And see if you can make these movements quite smooth so that they're not sticky or disconnected, but they're trying to be quite smooth. And if you find I can't do that, maybe you need to make them a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger. And again, maybe imagine yourself with all this fluid running through your body. As you're creating these movements, all those areas that were quite sticky are beginning to loosen. And then reversing the circles the other way. And or if you need to have a little break, do. And again, as you're holding onto your knees, maybe also feel your shoulders being moved, your inner armpits, the inner thighs. So you're getting this kind of the lymph flow, the lymph fluid moving. And then you want to just lift your arms and legs up into the sky and begin to create little wiggles, little circles, or little shakes. Letting the fluid drain from toes and fingers down to your heart. Shake it out. And then hug everything back in. And then begin to roll onto your left side. So you're rolling on your left side. I'll turn myself around. And from here, you're gonna have your left arm underneath your left side of your head. And then you're gonna begin to play around with extending the right side of your body and letting your knee and elbow come in towards one another and then let them extend out and away from each other. And you can do this kind of maybe first with a bit of muscular effort, kind of creating some tension and pulling in and out, kind of almost imagining yourself being compressed and maybe extending outwards. And so getting some heat, some force, some action going through this right side, through your masculine, which anyway is kind of the doing energy within us, the being in attention, in focus. And then you want to bring it back in. You're going to roll back onto your back. Feel into that right side. Feel how it feels. Then you're going to roll onto your right. This is now going to be your supportive side. You're going to let your head again rest on your right arm. And then your left leg and arm are going to move out and in, but with the opposite feeling. So really soft and flowing and freeing. Kind of no effort or little effort. gliding and then you're gonna bring it back in and you're gonna roll back onto your back. Just feel into right and left to right, the difference. Which one feels better? We will do it on the other side now. So you're gonna roll back onto your left side. You're gonna keep your left arm underneath your head for support. And then again, begin to play around with your right, but this time freeing the right. So really soft, freeing movements, floating. Let's do one more and then coming back to your center and rolling onto your back. Feeling into what's changed. And then doing the same to the other side. So you're lying on your right, and this time your left is gonna create muscular force, energy, and you're gonna kind of squeeze leg and arm in and out, using tension, using force, using that masculine energy. Use your breath as well. Let's do one more. And then again, bring it back in, roll onto your back and feel into both sides. In fact, come onto all fours for a moment. So on hands and knees. And you want to begin to kind of wiggle into the sides of your body and kind of curling and uncurling. And so curling and uncurling kind of on all fours, feeling into the sides of your body. Any kind of little movements that feel good. If your wrists get sore, you can come onto forearms and have a go there. And then from here, you want to begin to just crawl, crawling on hands and knees to try and get coordination and brain. And notice, am I stepping with one part of my body first, or am I moving both at the same time? Do I crawl? It's actually harder than you think, I think. If you really break the movement down, can you move left hand and right knee at the same time? Or try. So opposite hand and knee moving at the same time. Could you move just the right side of your body at the same time? I really find that difficult, but I think there are some people that might find that easier. And then finding a neutral and coming down onto forearms. So everybody down on arms, elbows and knees, and have your forearms pointing to the front. And your fingers pointing to the front. And then begin to look towards your fingers and kind of almost stick your bum out. So lifting your tailbone. And then begin to curl the head and the tailbone in. And lifting the upper back or the middle back up towards the sky. And you're just going to do that movement for a few rounds. So letting your head and tailbone move away from each other by reaching them upwards or outwards. And then curling them inwards and feeling this kind of rounded spine. And see if you found it better to use muscular effort, use the muscles. So kind of really pull in and out, kind of give yourself a bit of tension. And if you found it better to kind of be quite soft and flowing, then use that. So you can use either or, muscular effort and or kind of flowing. And also maybe explore both. And then you want to release it, maybe untuck your toes at the back. Begin to bring your pelvis towards your heels, but still keep your forearms on the floor. And then shift your weight slightly forwards into your forearms and hands. So you're going backwards and forwards for a few rounds. Maybe you want to move your forearms a little bit further forward, so you've got a little further forwards to go. Pulling it back as you're going back. And having a little explore at this. I know some yoga mats are quite sticky, so you might need to kind of pull yourself in and pull yourself out. And then you want to stay as far back as your knees will allow you, and maybe rest your forehead on the floor or rest your forehead on your hands, making a little pile. If your forehead can't reach, maybe you want to bring fists and rest your head that way. You decide. Take a breath. And then coming back onto all fours, onto your hands and knees, and begin to draw little circles with your pelvis. Little circles, maybe clockwise or anti-clockwise if that comes more natural. And then also little circles the other way. And again, if your wrists are sore, you can come onto your forearms. And then also begin to make little infinity circles with your pelvis. See if you can make little infinity circles with your pelvis one way, and then see if you can reverse that. See if that's possible. And then release it. And again, maybe a child's pose. And this time, perhaps even with your arms kind of by your sides. See if that's doable. Take one more breath there. And then coming back onto all fours and perhaps even a little downward dog. So if you are going to come into a downward dog, tucking your toes, begin to keep your knees bent and begin to lift your pelvis up towards the sky and let your head really hang. And taking a few breaths here. And if it feels okay, you can tread through your feet. kind of like a cat warming up or a dog getting ready to go for a little walk. Getting through your feet and stretching out the backs of your legs. Maybe even seeing if you can extend both your legs. Maybe that's not doable. Take one more breath here, and then we will make our way up to stand in a minute by moving your hands to your feet. So kind of walk in your hands to your feet. Getting your heels on the floor and get your pelvis underneath yourself. And then slowly begin to make your way up to stand. Super nice. So you're upright, and I'm just gonna move my screen a little bit. You want to just begin to shake out your arms. Shake out your legs. Shake out your head. Shake out your butt. And just whatever you are still holding on to, whatever stuff that is happening for you at the moment, see if you can shake it out. And then you're placing your hands on your heart. Let your arms spread really wide, kind of as if you're going to hug your best friend, and then wrap them into your arms and holding your shoulders, but kind of softly, and begin to rotate your upper body, but keep your knees quite soft and flexible. Maybe let your head curl in, so you're also getting a little bit of a stretch back of your neck. The space in between your shoulder blades. Notice which arm is on top. Slowly begin to come more upright. And then release your arms and move the other one on top. So really spreading wide and then hugging with the other arm on top, holding your shoulder blades or somewhere around your shoulders. And then again, begin to kind of rock your upper body from side to side, left to right, right to left, the pendulum. The yes, the no, the likes and dislikes. The love and the hate. Maybe let your head really curl in to kind of stretch out the space in between your shoulder blades. You can still be rocking. And then slowly coming back up. Spread your arms wide. And then release your arms down by your sides and kind of roll your shoulders. A few shoulder rolls. And then begin to walk with your feet and really using your feet to walk. You're kind of rolling from heel through your feet. So you kind of lead your walk with your heels and you're kind of rolling through And notice how your back foot also has to roll through. And if you haven't got big space, just kind of walk around your mat. But try and do it really consciously and really rolling through from the heel. Kind of harder than you think it is, right? I almost feel like I'm falling over. And notice which part of your foot you're pressing through most. Maybe see if you can kind of balance yourself out a little bit. And then begin to walk a little bit faster, but try and keep that kind of feeling rolling through your foot. If you keep walking in the same circle, walk the circle the other way. And then maybe begin to kind of walk on the balls of your feet, maybe slightly smaller steps. Walking on the balls of your feet mostly, and kind of adding a little bounce to your walk. And let your arms be quite casual. And see if you can keep your pelvis at this point still quite kind of square, so not moving too much through your pelvis. For some of you, you might even like to add a bit more of a bounce, but if that's too much, then just keep with walking. And then kind of really walking on the balls of your feet. And a bit like a model, begin to add a bit of that cross diagonal. And you might even like to play around with going backwards and forwards, backwards, and see if you can kind of stay on the balls of your feet. Maybe you feel like going sideways. Sideways. Getting quite jazzy now. And add some arms to it. And then just whatever you feel like. You kind of little hops, little shakes, or maybe you just want to be still. Maybe you want to roll your shoulders a little bit. We go into your hand. Maybe shake down. And then you're going to reach your arms up. You're going to take a big breath in. Then you're going to fold forwards and kind of bounce yourself back up. So you're going to fold forwards and then bounce back up. You're going to keep your knees bent. You're going to folding and doing that. Obviously, if your lower back is stiff, Laura, check with yourself if this is working. Big breath in at the top and then exhale. Big breath in when you get to the top and exhale. Big breath in when you get to the top and exhale. And then just spreading your arms wide, slowly, let them hang back down by your sides. Take a big breath in again, arms spreading really wide. And then again, wrapping your arms around yourself, holding yourself. This time, keeping your legs, your feet a little bit wider. We're going to do a few squats. So you're going to go slowly down, bending, and see where the weight of your pelvis is, and then slowly coming back up. And maybe you need to adjust, make your feet a little bit wider, slowly bending. Try and keep your spine fairly long and slowly straightening. And then breathing into the compression of your arms. If it's uncomfortable, you can also bring your hands onto your shoulders. And doing a few of these squats slowly down and then slowly pushing the floor away to come up. Let's do 2 more. Slowly down, slowly pushing the floor away to come up. Last one. Slowly down. You want to stay down for a moment. And then push to come up. You're going to let your hands come away. Maybe backs of the hands find each other. Maybe you can find the bind. And then you just want to lift your arms upwards and then squeeze them in and down. Creating some space in your ribs. Deep breaths. And then really release and shedding it all out. Shake, shake, shake. And then you're gonna do the same thing again, arms wide. Wrap the other arm, I should say, on top. Holding feet nice and wide. And again, you're gonna do a few squats. Going down, keep your spine nice and long. And then use the floor to push down to go up. Let's go easy down this time and really push the floor down to go up. So you're kind of going easy down, soft and floaty, and really use the floor, pressing down into your feet to come up. Easy down. Pressing floor muscles down to come up. Last 2. Going down. Press into the floor to come up. Last 1. Easy down. Use the floor. Press down to come up. Oh no. Sorry, arms still. Backs of your hands find each other near enough or bind. And then again, squeezing elbows up towards the sky. And then squeeze it down and then just doing that. Couple more. Squeezing down and in. Last one. And then release. And then shake. And you want to slowly roll down. And you're going to come and lie down on your back. You're going to roll down, use your hands. Catch yourself. Lie down on your back. Extend your legs. Extend your arms. Let everything roll open. Take a breath there. So tension versus no tension. Knowing how to utilize the tension to become tension-free. Then you want to slide your legs together. You're going to bring your right knee into your chest. And use your left hand to hold your right knee. Take a breath there. So the left is helping the right. Maybe slide your right arm slightly more to the right, and then begin to pull your right knee across your body towards the left. And however far you can manage, and it doesn't matter if it's not very far, and then pull it back. And you're just going to do that movement for a few rounds, kind of letting it come across your body, and then let it pull back towards your center, and then let it come across your body, and then finding a resting point. So maybe you support your right knee with your left hand. That could be one. You can also let your right knee come a little bit further towards the floor, maybe even tuck it behind your left knee, and or any other variation that you feel will help you without creating more tension. So find a space to soften into, take a breath there. Exhale, really soften. Let your head turn towards your right, towards the masculine. And then slowly begin to extend your right leg back down, and take a moment to stay disorganized and see how it feels. Then you're going to do the same thing with the left knee hugged in, holding your left knee with your right hand, and let your left arm fold out to the side. So your right hand is now going to help your left knee. And you're going to slowly let that knee come across your body, and then let it come back to the center. So you're kind of just moving into the right and then coming back to the center, playing around with where you want your knee to be before settling for a place where you can feel the releasing of the tension without creating more tension. So no pain. You might want to support your your left knee with your right hand. You want to let your head turn towards the left, towards the feminine or into the feminine. Find a position that works for you. For one more big breath, really release as you exhale. Begin to extend your left, back down. Feel into the left without organizing yourself. And then you want to slowly roll onto your left side. Curl up there for a moment, for a breath. And then you want to slowly use your right hand to help you come up to sit. So, warm stuff. Close your eyes. We're getting warm stuff on. Keep your eyes really soft focused. Don't look at the screen. And then once you find a comfortable position, doesn't have to be cross-legged. Do whatever works for you. See if you can sink into your sit bones and kind of feel your left sit bone and your right sit bone, and sit really evenly between the two. You might need to adjust to be able to sit evenly between the two. Begin to imagine little anchors or little roots shooting down through the left sit bone and through the right. Getting a sense of the pubic bone at the front, pubis, the tailbone at the back. And also shooting roots through them down. So you feel anchored, you feel grounded, you have support. Maybe every time you sit today, see if you can come back to this visualization or this imagination of the root shooting down. What seed would I like to plant? What would I like to grow into? What areas do I need to work on? Where do I create more boundaries? So that I can really feel safe to grow. And then I want you to place your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your heart. And again, take a moment to really feel into that space, your chest. Feel with your hands this space, your heart space, your rib cage, layers surrounding it, the skin. And also feel with your heart space, with the skin where your hands are. So this kind of two-way feeling. And then take a moment to really bow your head to your heart. So bring your mind, your intellect down to the level of the emotions and the level of the gut, the intuitive, the instinctive. So that we can move from this grounded place, space. And then when you feel ready to open your eyes, first of all, keep them really soft focus, but kind of get used to your surroundings and used to how you're sitting and where you are before opening your eyes, maybe a little bit further. And then I wish you all to have a really lovely day.